Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's card's going to be a little bit different. I've got some Stampin' Up! Warmth Cheer, it's like a plaid paper that I'm going to use. I have these two pieces of green cardstock in that are 4 by 8 inches wide, or in size I should say. And we're going to make a diamond pop-up card. I think that's what they called them in the old days. So these two pieces for the sides measure 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. And these two, this goes a little bit wrong here. So these squares I've done as 3/4 of an inch square. So you're only going to need one of those half triangles, which you're also going to cut in half. And then the larger square will actually become, I think, 2.5 inch squares. So I'll show you that later on. And then my images come from Cricut 2, and I used the print and cut feature in my Cricut design space to create them. So they were like one layer, so it's great. I'm very excited about this now that I know how to do it. So for the scoring, you're going to score at 2 inches and 4 inches, and you're going to make a mark or a score mark at 6. So you're going to score at 2, score at 4. I'm just checking my notes because it's been a while since I made these. Score at 4, and then you're just going to make a mark at 6. And to get the second mark along the bottom edge of the the bottom edge, you can either do what I did there, or you can mark the top at 6 and then flip your card round and mark it at 2 inches. It'll be at the same spot then, from a lining up point of view. You're going to do the same on the second piece of cardstock. So you're going to score at 2 inches, then at 4, and then make a score mark at 6, and then you can flip your card round and make it at 2, and the 2 and the 6 inch will actually line up as little notches in your cardstock. I do change my scoreboard in a minute because it just makes it easier for getting the lines and the score lines in, and I'll show you that in a second. So what you want to do is, from one of the notches, you want to go from the notch on one side to the first score line on the opposite side of that 1/8 inch length. So I'm going to go from that first notch down to that first score line there. Now this is where I'm changing my scoreboard, because I do find it easier to find the score lines on the little score buddy, just because the lines are a bit wider. I can work it out better. And you'll see I'll get even better at trying to work that out, which you'll see in a second. So hopefully this will help you as well. So then you're going to go to the other score line, the other notch on the other side, and again you're going to score from that from that notch, to the first score line. So you essentially have this cross that goes through the middle of the second score line in. So hopefully that will make some sense. You're going to do the same thing again on the second piece, so we'll go through it again. So you're going to find your first notch that you made. I'm just finding the actual score line. Then you're going to go from either the notch or the first score line on that piece of card, and you're going to score a line. Then you're going to go from that first score line again and up to your notch, or vice versa. So again, you create this cross in the middle. So now what you're going to do is you're going to turn it sideways, and where you've got that V, you're going to create a notch in the middle. So this will be at 2 inches, because this is 4 inches across. So you do that on both pieces, and then again you're going to go from that notch, a bit close, from that notch you're going to go down to each of those new score lines you've just created. So you're going to go from the notch, I'm just trying to find a score line, to your notch through to that score line you've just created, so that you create a diamond. Right, so you're going to do the same thing again. So you're going to go from your newly scored line to your new little notch in the middle, and the same again from the notch that you've just created through to your newest score line. So hopefully you'll get something that looks like a little fish. That's how I look at it. So you've got the diamond, and then you've got like a half diamond, and that's what you want. So where those little edges are, you're actually going to cut those pieces off. So where you've just scored those extra lines, you're going to cut those corners off. So I'm going to use my Tim Holtz Tonic Studios paper trimmer, and it's very easy to just line up those score lines because they're a small area as well. It's not so bad. Line them up and get each one cut off, so you'll end up with this point. Hopefully this is making some sort of sense. Like I say, it's been quite a long time since I've made it. Like, we're talking years. Like, not yesterday or a week ago or a month ago, like years and years since I made these things. So, and I used to make them huge as well. So you'll end up with two things that look a bit like a house, right? A little roof and all that. So you're going to score all your score lines. That was a mouthful for some reason. And you're going to score along all of the lines. And you'll see once you've done this once or twice, it becomes quite easy to remember how to fold it. So I actually have to go back and forth until I can see it in my mind as to what I want. So I'm hoping that by seeing what I'm doing, you'll be able to see how the folds need to work. So sometimes you have to fold the opposite way to the way that you've initially folded, because what you want to do is you're manipulating the paper so that you can get this sort of, you want the sides to kind of wedge in, almost like if you imagine like a mouth, opening, closing, that sort of thing. And of course I went the wrong way. So that's what you want there. You want it to look like a little, almost like a bean frog, jumping frog. Is that what they were in the old days, the little plastic things? Did we have those? I don't know, am I showing my age? I'm not sure. So you essentially land up with two of these where they fold into each other like that. So I thought I'd show you, but just manipulate the paper. So if you need to fold the score lines back and forth, do that, because then getting it to go into position is much easier once the score lines are, manipulated enough. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take those two centerpieces, I've turned it over, and we're going to glue them together, and that will create one long card and one long diamond pop-up. Is that what I'm calling it? I can't remember. So I'm just putting lots of tape on the center here. This is essentially, when you've turned this over, this is the inside. Now I'm going to help by slightly lifting that up, those two sort of funky pieces there, just to help line it up so that I don't overlap those score lines. It just makes them sit together that little bit better. Now score carefully, because I have to finagle a little bit here because my score line was skew. So it turns out fine, and it works out fine in the end, and it's kind of a cute card. So so I have to finagle just to get the scores to do what they're going to do. But this is your diamond pop-up, and it will stand up on a mantelpiece for everyone to enjoy. But this is essentially the pop-up. Sweet, right? So I'm going to take my brushed corduroy distress ink now, and I'm going to ink the edges of everything. There are some edges that as I go, I then realize they need inking, so I just ink as I go. But for the most part, I will get the ones I can see that are obvious to me, I'll get them inked, and that way it saves me time later on. So this is the part where I ink the edges of everything. So you know, or like I say, the bits that I can see are obvious, like the front panel, the edges, and then you'll see I will go around the edge of this one. This one does not turn out to be the size, because if you notice, this is huge compared to that center diamond. so me and the maths working all this out beforehand, not so good. The side panels are the right size, which I gave you at the beginning of the video. And these half diamonds, you actually only need one of these cut in half, because this is where I realized that they're way too big. So this is 3 3/4 square, cut at a diagonal. You only need 1/2, and you need to cut it in half again, and you'll see that in a bit. So yeah. So some of it was a bit trial and error, because again, I hadn't done it for a long time, so I didn't know what I was doing really. I was just like, oh, this is a good idea, let's try this, and yeah, this is what happened. Also ink all your stuff before you put adhesive on the back. And just something else to be aware while we've got this joy wreath word, is just be aware, as in the previous videos, just be aware of where you're putting your adhesive, because you don't want to stick the thing shut. So I'll have to finagle in a bit, but that's fine, it's fine. I haven't done this for years, so I was happy. So this is where I'm showing you that it's too small, too big, sorry. So I'm just going to cut it in half, and it works fine. It's the perfect size for those side diamonds. I obviously need to ink the edges where I've cut, because they don't have any ink on them. So just do that really, really quickly. And this, do what you like with it. Keep it for another card. And so I'm going to get my panels on there. I'll figure this is where I realized that middle one was way too big, and just double checking the sizing of all these ones. So I'm just going to get some adhesive. This is just a tape gun that I bought off Amazon. It's very similar to I think the scrapbook adhesives, that's the word. Scrapbook adhesives type of tape runner, that's the word as well. I lost my words there. But you know, it was just, I think it's Amazon's own, or I think they're called Home or Home Body or something like that. I don't know, don't quote me on it. I'm trying it out because I've never used one this big before, so I'm just trying it out. So far so good, it seems to work well. But I can't always get the scrapbook adhesive for tape runners and adhesives and things here. So yeah, if I can find an alternative and it works and it's acid free, it's great. So just getting all these little pieces stuck down. I think I did tell you the sizes of these at the beginning, and these go on these sort of first diamond facing in, half diamond coming in from the edges. And this is where I realized that I also have some more inking to do, I think. No, this is where I'm measuring this middle one. So this middle one will end up being about 2.5 inches square. I think that's what I ended up cutting it at. So I'm just going to cut that gigantic one down to 2.5 inches square. And I probably should write this down in case I do decide to do this again, just so that I've got those measurements. And hopefully if I make it into another video, that it's a lot easier to understand. But hopefully you guys can see what I've been doing and how they all fit together. I'm sure there's loads of people out there who do much better tutorials on this, but like I say, it's been a while. And then this is going to go in that center panel, look much better. much better. And you can always you know, put more pattern paper on those other centerpieces, other green, where it's still green. I didn't bother, to be honest. This is where I realized that my adhesive's in the wrong place, because what you want is for it just to be on the diamond part of that center. You don't want anything that's over, well, you don't want, it can overhang, but it can't have adhesive on it, otherwise it won't open or close. So if I stuck that down as it was now, it would prevent it from closing into that sort of mechanism that we've just gone through and created. So yeah, I'm just trying to get all these, and it took me however long to get all these teeny tiny bits of, of foam on it in the first place, and now I've got to take it off. So yeah, note to self, I thought I was being clever, getting ahead of myself, but you know, sometimes I shouldn't do that. So I'm just getting my joy on there, and then I'm also just going to remove the one right at the top. I don't think it was actually sticking out, but I thought just to be on the safe side, I'll just put another piece in of foam dot lower down on his head, and that way it's not gonna, I know it's not gonna stick out the back. And then I'm just checking it there, and that's it. How cute is this? It turned out better than I thought, but honestly, because it had been so long since I'd done it, I really wasn't sure if I liked them. I did all three. This week is all kinetic stuff, and I just was not entirely sure, but it's cute, and I'll probably use it for someone, and it will stand up on its own. So it's a very cute little card. It's about 4x4 in size. So I hope you like this. I hope this week's videos have been fun for you. Yes, I know it's December and I'm making Christmas cards and Halloween cards still and other stuff, but I like to inspire as much as I can with as many ideas, because Christmas and Halloween are every year, right? So I will see you in the next one, guys. Bye!